right? Unfortunately, we don't have multiple light switches. So we can go ahead and introduce.
I'll go first. Hi, my name is Sarah. I am a travel agent. I own All the Places We Go Travel LLC. I am also an S&G certified accessible travel advocate, meaning that I specialize in families with special needs to include student veterans. Just real quick, a little bit about me. I have 3 young children, ages 7, 5, and 1, and my 5-year-old has a few things going on. He's autistic, has sensory processing disorder, ADHD. So a couple things where he needs some accommodations, especially while traveling. I started this business because I want to help families like ours. Because way back when he was first diagnosed, he was diagnosed at 1 years old, and we would try to travel, and it would be and so I dug my heels in and did research and see what worked for us, what didn't work for us, what worked for other families. And I did a lot of travel planning for friends and family at the time, and everybody thought, oh, you should go into the travel industry. So here I am today. And I have a lot more research on my belt and a lot more patience planned, and I hope that you guys can take some tips away today to hopefully get you guys a certification too.
So I'm Jenny. I'm an occupational therapist here in this clinic at Medical Support Services. I have received additional training in sensory integration and different ways of helping kiddos that are on the spectrum to kind of help them process that information. So I think together, both Caitlin and I have some really good ideas for like those sensory situations, as well as the positioning situations that I think a lot of the more neurological based children are going to encounter when they're on a plane. So I think those are some major tidbits for the involved.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm also an occupational therapist here. I don't have as much training as Jenny does with all the sensory, but I do love my sensory kiddos and also my neuro kiddos. But I am a huge fan of traveling, not only out of state, like I am a Disney geek. I have been to Disney probably more times than I should admit. And it's one of my favorite things. It's the most magical place on earth. I want everyone to go there. Multiple times.
Yeah.
But I also just love getting out into our cities, and I feel like that's one of the big things with all the families here. That like, what are you doing to get out in the communities and helping make different families? And so I think that's a really important thing to have fun and have those family moments. So that's something else we're going to talk about is just how can you guys have those cherishable family moments to get outside of home.
Okay, so I'll go first. I'm going to start by talking about airports and airlines. First off, airports use something called SSR codes, or Special Service Request codes, to help individuals with disabilities throughout the process of going through TSA and traveling. SSR codes are 3-letter codes, and they can indicate that somebody is wheelchair bound, someone has an intellectual or developmental disability, they're traveling with maybe an external or internal medical device. We have hundreds of SSR codes. And what happens is when you first plan your trip, you can make your booking or have your travel agent do so for you and contact the airline and tell them, hey, my kiddo's wheelchair bound or traveling and I have autism. And they will encode that onto your ticket. And then that will help them to assign personnel to you to help assist you throughout the airport. Wheelchairs always fly free. There's no baggage fees on those like luggage. And all U.S. airlines are subject to the Air Carrier Access Act. What is the Air Carrier Access Act? The Air Carrier Access Act is a set of rules and regulations that people need to follow in the air industry to help passengers that are traveling with disabilities. So they can be things like you're traveling in a wheelchair, you are hearing or vision impaired, you have intellectual or developmental disabilities, maybe you're traveling with a service animal or an emotional support animal. The Air Carrier Access Act will cover things like enplaning and deplaning, so getting on and off the plane. need a ground wheelchair, if you need a lift, if you need a ramp, the delivery carrier is responsible for providing that for you. On board, once you're on board the plane, the travel, once you're on the plane, they can assist you if you have a power wheelchair. They're trained in a system to help lift from the wheelchair to the aisle chair to your seat, if need be. And that's only if you're comfortable with it. And also, if there were to be any damage, unfortunately, say you're flying and your wheelchair is damaged during the flight, the delivery carrier is responsible 100% for that damage. So they would have to reimburse for any damage done and replace if it needs to be replaced. But I guess your main concern if that were to happen would be, what happens when I get there? I don't have a wheelchair now. There are plenty of companies out there that provide equipment, special needs equipment. One company that I use is called Special Needs Group. And they do a lot of cruises, but they also provide to airports and hotels and convention centers in 215 metropolitan areas of the States and 58 countries. So they can provide ground wheelchairs, power wheelchairs, mechanical lifts. They can provide, if you're cruising and you need a hospital bed, they can provide that. If you need, I had a family who needed specialized formula for their baby and was on a cruise, we were able to deliver that for them. So a variety of things. Special Needs Group is awesome. That's one of the resources on your resource page. I have their website there for you, as well as their phone number. If you have any questions. You don't have to pay extra for it. If you're renting, you have to pay the rental fee. Just the rental fee, but there's no extra charge for that.
Like, what about Foyer Lift?
Foyer Lift, there's just a rental fee for the Foyer Lift.
You'd be amazed what is out there. Like, my father-in-law had esophageal cancer and can't sleep in the bed. Yeah. So he sleeps in the recliner, and when we went to Disney, we were able to rent a mechanical recliner to allow him to sit more upright. So the abilities of what's out there in all these rental centers, even if it's not medically based and you just need something else, a lot of rental centers do have it.
Yeah, the world is very accessible. You need to know where to look and what questions to ask. And so hopefully tonight you can get some questions answered. Wheelchairs, special wheelchairs, they can be, when you're traveling via airplane, they can be of any size and weight, as long as they'll fit in the wheelchair storage closet or the cargo compartment. If you're not sure, you can call the airline ahead of time, or if you're using a travel agent, you can call the airline ahead of time for you and give them the approximate dimensions and weights, and they can let you know for sure.
A lot of the families that I had talked to prior to doing this presentation that more of the heavier wheelchairs, some of them that are motorized, they said that they do leave their motorized wheelchairs home and then utilize more of the stroller type of chairs for the kids because there's so much more money that they didn't want the airlines to do. And then, I mean, if you're going to a beach, you really probably don't want to take that motorized wheelchair out on the sand and have it get stuck in something.
And they do have beach wheelchairs now, too. So you can put it right on.
A lot of things that are now starting to having the easy rider wheelchairs, which are basically more supportive wheelchairs that can kind of have the reclining back and that. So they fold up like a stroller, and they usually are about 20 to 30 pounds. They're still really light.
And I also included, I was talking about Special Needs Group in your packet. I have their equipment guide, so it's just some of the equipment that they provide for rent or for purchase. Okay, we can move next slide.
And if you guys have questions, just jump in. You would rather.
So, okay, if my child, I haven't been on planes with people, but at any rate, he's 10 years old now, and he's like 66 pounds. He cannot sit in a regular chair. Would I have to leave his person?
could bring his car seat. You would not have to bring his car seat, but that is a possibility to bring the car seat with. Yes.
From falling over or for positioning
Yeah,
purposes, I would definitely recommend bringing the car seat, because otherwise you're going to be trying to maintain his upright position while he's in that seat. On the same time of, if you take the other kids, trying to wrangle the other kiddos into their seats. So it would be more advantageous to have him in his car seat if you have an adaptive car seat available to you. Otherwise, because they don't have to provide you with any additional straps, correct?
Correct.
So what they have on the lap belt and then their extensions on their lap belt is all they have to provide you. So then any additional support system would be beneficial.
We're going to actually for the first time because the whole country was in, so we've been off in the car. People were flying actually in March. I mean, they have a plane change. So obviously he's a peanut, but he's 40 pounds and can roam through the airport. Should we just request a wheelchair and I sit there and hold it?
You can request a wheelchair.
Because he's going to be, I mean, he's got to sit in his car seat. There's no way he can sit in the plane. So would I request a wheelchair to use the stick? Because he can't sit on those.
You mean for on the plane?
No, like we were changing.
When you're transferring. Okay,
Yeah, because
when
you
you're
said they
changing
will provide that because we have
Oh
like.
yeah, the delivering carrier will provide a wheelchair for you if you need one to get from the agency.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry.
No.
Do I have to specify that first, like when I call Southwest?
That, yes,
Okay.
specify that you would need one
Okay.
for your connecting foot.
Gotcha. Okay.
What do you think you're doing?
I'm going in the care attendance now. Yes.
You can gate check my stuff and then
Yeah. I don't have to go to the college. I'm thinking of sure.
You can gate check that too. And you can put him in the stroller. This isn't just the regular one.
Yeah.
So that could go up, and they would let you guys board first. You would gate check that stroller,
Okay. And then they would pull that out.
and then they would pull that out. We would land, and you could put it back.
Back into that rather than doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not very good.
So my next one is about care attendants. This is about, so what are care attendants? Care attendants are people traveling with somebody that has special needs in order to help assist them. So who needs a care attendant? You need a care attendant if you are on a stretcher and in an incubator. If you cannot, because of intellectual or developmental disabilities, you can't respond to safety instructions or you can't understand safety instructions. And if you have mobility impairments where you can't help in your own evacuation if you need emergency, that is the only time you need a care attendant with you. Next slide. TSA is a great resource. That's also one of the resources on your page. Just go to tsa.gov. They have a lot of information. TSA Cares, they have their phone number on here. They have something called a TSA notification card where when you're traveling, it's a little blue card usually. I have it up here in the corner. And it says, I have the following health condition or conditions, disability, or medical device that may affect my screening. And then in the blank spot, you can list those. And this does not exempt you from going through security screening if you have social security, but it will help them to make accommodations. Say somebody has sensory issues and they just refuse to take their shoes off. They may not have to take their shoes off. Or somebody is traveling with an ostomy bag and you want to have your screening done in private, you can request to have it done in private. Traveling with medications, more than the minimal amount of liquid if it's a medically necessary liquid. You just have to let the TSA officer know when you're going through security that you have medically necessary liquid or anything that goes with it, like syringes or anything like that. Then that may be subject to additional screening. They usually just test for trace chemicals. There is a passenger support specialist that can be assigned to you, which I think this is something that not many people know about. If you call TSA 72 hours ahead of your departure, I have their number on your resource page as well. You can request a passenger support specialist. This is somebody that's assigned one-on-one to you, and they will help you from when you get to the airport until you get on your plane. They'll help you through all of the security process, getting your gate safely, making sure that the flight attendants know, if you're traveling with a wheelchair and special needs, that they're aware of that.
I have a mom tell me that it actually helps you get through TSA faster.
Yeah, true.
So
They
it's
know all the
definitely
tips and
worth
tricks
it.
to get you
Yes.
through a little bit faster.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yep, go ahead.
So if I have medicine necessary with the medication, am I not supposed to put them in their, leave them in their original box?
No, you leave them in their original bottle. You want everything to be labeled. It does not have to go into a Ziploc baggie, like if you're traveling with, say, perfume or something like that. They want you to put it in a Ziploc baggie. You don't need to do that. Make sure they are labeled and have the correct labels on them, and you let the TSA officer know. And then they just might be subject to like X-ray screening or something like that. If you don't want it to go through additional screening, you can let the TSA officer know for whatever reason. Let the TSA officer know, and there's just additional steps that they have to take. TSA Cares also offers a program called Wings for Autism to help people on the spectrum, to help get them through security faster and safer. And if you go onto their website, they actually have a video of somebody that has autism going through TSA, through the security process. You can see what that's like. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about a few special needs friendly resorts, cruises, and locations. So Tradewine's Island Resort in St. Petersburg, Florida. They are known for being very sensory friendly. They were one of the first autism friendly resorts in the United States. And autism friendly resorts, that means that the people who work there, the employees, have been through specialized training to help assist people on the spectrum. Disney All-Star Movies Resort in Orlando. That resort is known for being very wheelchair accessible. They have extra ramps, extra wide walkways, things like that. And Disney Art of Animation, also in Orlando, has a lot of sensory-friendly activities. All beaches and sandals locations are now autism-friendly, so everybody at Beaches and Sandals has gone through additional training. Playa del Carmen and Playa del Carmen, Mexico, or Royal Playa del Carmen, Playa del Carmen, Mexico, is very wheelchair accessible. And one of my favorites, I've never been, but I have many plans to have been, to Morgan's Wonderland and Morgan's Inspiration Island in San Antonio, Texas. This is the world's first ultra-accessible park. So every ride and all the water features and the sensory village, all wheelchair accessible. They can go on the Ferris wheel, they can go on the carousel. They have swings for children in wheelchairs. And they actually offer free admission to anybody with special needs. And they have a program where you can apply for their grant program if you don't have the money to fly down there, that they would fly you down there to see Morgan's Wonderland. They fly a few people down every year. I also, I think I spoke briefly earlier about beach wheelchairs. There's a picture of one here. You can go right on the sand with these wheelchairs and into the water. And cruises are actually very accessible nowadays as well. Cruise ships nowadays are like the size of small cities. So I have a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't know that I can go on a cruise because I get motion sickness. Not really possible nowadays with how big these ships are. So just something I wanted to put out there. The Special Needs at Sea, which is on your resource page as well. They have a lot of information. You can go on and select your cruise line, and they'll tell you about the different staterooms, which ones are handicap accessible, how wide the doorways are. They'll tell you where they have additional wheelchair accessible features on the ship, things like that. Disney Cruise is, yep, Disney Cruise is definitely wheelchair accessible, and I'm very comfortable friendly as well. Yes. Okay.
All right. Do you guys have any other questions for Sarah? I mean, she's not leaving, but
No,
didn't know if you
no,
guys had any additional questions for Sarah from a travel agent perspective.
So, getting TSA person, like, will they, all of the time, they may make movies, or do you like have to check in at the counter and they?
For getting the
Assistant.
the person that comes one-on-one with
Yeah.
you, you're talking about. Yep, you can just go up to the line, to the TSA counter, and just tell them that you have requested personal service, and they will help you with that. That phone is usually easier. Online, a good thing to know is that the city for local airports online on like Priceline or Kayak, one of those sites. They'll usually come up with like Spirit or Frontier Airlines as like your lowest airfare. I found round trip from Phoenix to Milwaukee, and I lost $100. However, oftentimes what happens is like Frontier and Spirit have they'll charge you for your seat, charge extra for your seat, they'll charge extra for your checked baggage, for your carry-on baggage. That'll add up, and it's usually a little bit more. It's not necessarily the most cost-effective, and that is when you can ask over the phone. So that is one of the reasons why I would just say to call in. Yeah.
Are there certain airlines that I'm with?
There are certain airlines that are like Southwest is, United, Delta, and American Airlines. They're all really good airlines.
And then just the after like each person, you could get like the also and all that.
And those are those SSR codes that I was talking about. They'll put in a 3-letter code and it'll go right on your ticket so that people can be assigned to you to help you with. Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, those aisle chairs that they're talking about, from a perspective of a therapist, they're not going to be very handy for you because our kiddos usually don't have the trunk support to sit in those aisle chairs. The aisle chairs don't have a lot of support, so you might be better off just carrying your child into their seats rather than utilizing the aisle chairs. Skinny little chairs that just scoot down the aisle, correct? Correct. So that might not be a very feasible option. Be ready to carry them or help them. Okay, so we kind of talked about some of the information in regards to airports and airlines and asking for assistance. Some of the moms that I did talk to said, don't be proud, ask for assistance. Get that assistance to help you through the airport. The one mom said that is the one thing that I wish she wishes she would have done a lot earlier. Is ask for that level of assistance because it made things so smooth and they were able to get them from the time that they checked in at the ticket counter to the actual plane with no issue. They just helped them through the TSA, they helped them through all the pieces, helped assist with the wheelchair or the stroller, and got them right onto the plane with greater ease than they've ever had before. So she did say, definitely don't be too proud and accept the assistance that you're given. So, as far as positioning, like I said earlier, you're not figure out ways to help your child sit in that seat. Definitely talk to your therapist, talk to those that are involved in your child's care, and you can come up with And there's different blankets or home pieces that we could recommend for you to have in the chair to help with upright positioning, so that you're not having to hold them or put your body in a bad position throughout the whole flight to keep your child safe. And then also the whole car seat situation, so that stressed out flight.
One, we're going to kind of talk about it too with some apps later on and just like preparing the child. But contact the actual airports that you're going to, because a lot of airports have now sensory rooms. They also, a lot of the airports are remodeling their bathrooms in order to have large, like adult-sized changing tables or mat-sized changing tables. And so all it is, that's not something you're going to find on like a Southwest Airlines, but like if you contacted General Mitchell's airport or whichever airport you're flying into, see what accommodations that they have for that, because we need to change. We need to, get a break after being Maya held it together on the plane, or maybe not, and you have now a long 3-hour layover or there is a delay. You guys got to get so a lot of the airport websites will say how they can accommodate for special needs, but and call their customer service and say, hey, this is what I have. What happens in this situation? And a lot of times the actual airport general staff is going to accommodate and help you guys, whether it's even just getting into just a quiet room and helping that be like a rest area for you guys.
And then making sure that when you are going to get on that airplane, that you have activities to keep them busy. Bring their headphones, bring different manipulatives, the weighted blanket, that's a good point, or little vibrating little animals to keep them busy for the sensory work. It all depends on what your kiddo seems to calm with, and make sure you give that to them while they're on the plane. So if music helps them calm, then you would definitely want to make sure you bring the headphones with some different music and different opportunities. If they calm with manipulatives, there's just so much, and again, that's going to take you having a conversation with your child's therapist or additional the others that help care for your child outside of your perspective, because we see the kiddos in sometimes situations where they're not as comfortable. So we already know how to make them more organized or to help them become more organized by during our treatment sessions when we're pushing them outside their comfort zone, when we're pushing them outside.
And
My son, who has autism and sensory processing disorder, we went to Hawaii. It was a long flight. He experienced some noise as well, and we didn't wear like headphones or earbuds or anything like that. We found like a headband sort of headphones for him. He fell asleep on the flight, and it was actually, he said he didn't hear much of the noise at all. So we just had him get his little tablet, listen to be comfortable from the flight. His first flight too, so I didn't know what to expect. So
is a new, maybe with our kids who are a little bit more neuro-based, who really can't tolerate even the headphones that you would apply with the Xiaomi headphones. There is a brand out called Cozy Phones that look like kind of a winter headband like thing, but they have Bluetooth. Yeah, I would say they have Bluetooth speakers in them, and they're cute. They look like cat ears, or they have like plain ones too. But they're really soft. They're really nice, and then you can just hook up to an iPad or a phone. But they're a little bit more friendly if you can handle the big headphones.
Yeah, my son keeps things on his head too, and he can barely feel it. So I think that's one of the only things we thought that's on. Feeling on top of his head.
And practicing before you leave.
Yes, and practicing
Very
was a big thing with practicing therapy. And yes.
Did you want to? We also had a list of recommended apps, just to jump in on that.
Yeah, we can go in on those.
Yeah.
So you guys will have a handout for them, but the recommended apps on here, there's a bunch of different ones, and there's thousands of them out there. So these are only a few, that you can kind of look at some stories. There's apps for calming, you know, if kids like to look at the bubbles, or if they like to pop bubbles, or just kind of nice flowing colors throughout. There's calming apps out there. Being really prepared. Honestly, almost being don't use it, that's okay. It's on there for another time. But you might have a kid who's never had an issue before, and then an airplane is big, and you get anxious, and it's new, and what is this? And who's these strangers? Now we're going into needing to have some regulation. Okay, let's pull up this calming app. Let's get them refocused. Music apps, like we said, a lot of kids might have done therapeutic listening as a trialing. Obviously, if you can't have like a quick shift here, but having some just calming music that is really good, like a Baby Einstein or something like that, or even if their favorite song is Kid Box, just having that availability is going to be crucial, so that when you start seeing the kids starting to get antsy or wiggly or on that verge of, you know, a meltdown, let's have that plan in place for them. Downloaded without the Wi-Fi.
So
You
good.
cannot, Sharon, you cannot count on Wi-Fi on a plane as much as every plane says that they have it. I've not found a plane yet that has my Wi-Fi working.
And more than not enough, because when we traveled out of the country, we're like, oh, we'll be able to download videos when we're out of the country. No, once we got out of the country, we had a hard time working with, I don't know, something from their perspective that wouldn't allow any movies to be downloaded to our iPads. So definitely make sure that you have that videos on Amazon Prime or something that go through if you're out of the country.
And again, having your extra like backup battery or like portable batteries, because again, you never know where, if you're on a long flight, or this one app actually might drain your battery a whole lot. Just being over prepared. I do know that one of the like cool things that is at every amusement park, and now it seems like every big hotel is the battery brand that you can buy for $5, and they give you like a full like charged battery, and then you can exchange it for like $2 in the vending machine. So you can like turn it back in, and they give you a new one. And it used to be free, and now it charges you $2. So you can literally have a brand new backup battery, and you get to keep it until it goes down. And they have it like at all the Universals, they have it at all the Disneys, they have it at all the Busch Gardens, they have it in every major big city. Like there's one on the corner downtown Chicago. So they are kind of accessible too if you want to look into it. I don't remember the name of it, but I can get it for you guys.
So, is not only preparing for the trip, but preparing the child, getting them ready to know what they're going to be doing. I think a lot of times we take for granted what our children know because we know it. And I think it's very important to talk about it sooner than later. So just talking about, oh, we're going here. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go on a plane. You know, and maybe doing some simulation of sitting in a plane at home, and oh, we're going to pretend we're going to get our belts on, and then pointing out the planes in the sky, or pointing out planes on TV. Oh, see how they're sitting on the airplane. They're sitting so nicely. It's very important to start talking about that, and then talking about expectations. You want to prepare them, but you also want to say this is the expectation. Some of the kids, it might be over their head, but just saying, oh, when we're on the plane, we have to keep our feet quiet. Oh, when we're on the plane, we're going to try to use our quiet voice, and just using some of that terminology so they know what to expect and to be talking about it sooner than later. Social stories is a really good opportunity to prepare your child to go on a plane. And if you're not familiar with it, I'm sure if you go on the Pinterest, there's tons of social stories for going on a plane. Social stories should always be in the positive. I will try to sit in my seat. I will try to keep my feet quiet. And you don't want to ever put in negative connotation in a social story. So make sure that if you're utilizing a social story, it is more in the positive and trying, and I'll be happy when I get off the plane, different things of that sort. I will not kick my feet, because that's not going to help your kiddo. The negative piece on that is very hard for that child to stories, if you are looking to go on a plane and want a social story to be written, again, your occupational or speech therapist can help you with that as well.
And those are really good to, again, you want to prep them before the trip, but also take that social story on the plane. So that if, again, that kid's feet are starting to get up, oh, hold on, let's pull out our social story. Remember, I like having my feet quiet. It keeps me happy. It keeps my body safe. It keeps mom and dad happy. So that, again, if that behavior is starting, you guys can pull it out and show, and it kind of, again, helps the kids calm down. And it don't even have to be for planes. You could do a social story for planes. Then you could do a social story for the hotel. A social story for the beach. Waiting in line at Disney. All of those little things. Because social stories don't need to be 20 pages. They're honestly 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's not a lot. And they do have apps for social stories. So again, those are things that you could have that social story on your phone if you don't want to carry around a bunch of papers. But again, you just want to make sure then that your batteries are charged and they are downloaded.
And social videos, very similar to social stories, but it's more of a video of the kiddo doing it or a video of somebody else doing it. So you know somebody going on a plane before you're getting on that plane, you could have them take like little snapshot videos of them getting on the plane, and then when they get home, then you can adapt it to be what you want it to say and put your little subtitles in and stuff, just to kind of help that child prepare and see what an airplane is going to look like or what it's going to look like to sleep in a hotel and stuff.
SOAR is a program that it's kind of set up throughout the country. The Wisconsin Autism Society partners with it, that it partners with different airlines that they will have certain dates throughout the year. I looked it up already. 2020 hasn't been listed yet, but you can go on the SOAR website, and they actually allow a day and certain times that you can reserve to come and check out these different airlines. So if you're going to be flying with Southwest, you can go and to General Mitchell, be able to go through Southwest, go look at a Southwest plane, see how you board, what does this look like, and it really preps the child. Southwest participates in it, American Airlines participates in it, I think Delta does. I didn't see anything for United, but even if you weren't flying for that certain airline, it might be a good idea to kind of still see the general idea. And they do it a couple times throughout the year. Like I said, they haven't done it yet for 2020, so I'm assuming it's probably going to be hitting that spring break and summertime travel. But that would be a great opportunity to come and see, have the child be ready to see what does this look like? What does the airport look like? Is it busy? Oh, this is a big plane. This is a small aisle. So it's just a really great resource for you guys to use it here. I do know, even though you guys are all around here too, but Green Bay's airport, even though it's a smaller airport, they also participate in it. So that's an opportunity if you guys have family that you need to pass that along to. Green Bay's participates in it too. And then positive reinforcers are just a great thing to have on hand. Whether or not you already do a reward system or, a positive reinforcement behavioral program, having those reinforcers, whether it's stickers, snaps, little fidgets, just letting the kid know that they are being safe, they are doing a great job, I think is a great way for them to just continue to have that calm ability. Wow, you had a great job going through TSA. Cool. You want the sticker? This sticker is going to be great, or this toy is going to be great for the airplane. And having those little bit of rewards. Wow, you're doing such a great job waiting in line. Look, here's a special treat for you. It's showing the kid that I'm actually having a really great time, a great job. My body is being safe.
And first then
statements are really good too. First, we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. If your kid does great with visual schedules, make sure that you have your visual schedules on hand so that the child knows what to expect. I think that's the biggest thing to help with some of the anxiety, is that the child is understanding what is to come.
So we've mentioned this several times already, planning and talking with your therapist, but it's also important that you chat it out with your child's doctors, or if they have multiple physicians on your child's case, that it's important to have those conversations. I'm leaving the country, or we're going out of state. Is there anything we need to know? Maybe if you have some nervousness about the child on the plane, I don't know if they do this anymore. I'm thinking they don't, but when my kids were little, they allowed us to have, they would give me eardrops that I would put in their ears right before we got on the plane, and they would be numb, and then when we got on the plane and took off, they didn't care about the elevation change because their ears were numb and they were just popped and everything was perfect. I'm not sure if they do that still anymore, but maybe have that conversation with your child's physician to see if they would allow that type of medical intervention so that they're not upset when the plane is going up or descending. And then having just a plan in place in case your child does need to be hospitalized outside of the state. Hopefully not outside the country, but just have that dialogue, and I think you will feel so much better, and you won't be on edge like, oh, I hope they're not getting sick. Oh my goodness, what if something happens, or their tube falls out, or there's different scenarios that if you just play them all out with your child's physician, then you're gonna feel so much better traveling, and all those worries will be decreased.
With that too, you also might, I know this sounds really kind of cliche, but you actually might want to talk to your doctor too about getting a written note about your child's diagnosis. Biggest example is at Universal Studios. They allow a disability accessibility pass, so you basically can get times to go and skip lines so you're not having to wait in line. A lot of your different theme parks have this. Universal is really known that they actually want to look at the child. They won't just believe on words. And so I think that's horrible. But because there's so much fraudulent with trying to get these passes and skipping lines, if you have a note stating from a doctor that's saying my child has a diagnosis, I think that might help with that process a little bit better. Especially because a lot of kids might have those silent looking kind of diagnoses and accommodations that you might get a really crowded person on the day and you don't want that to ruin your trip. So I would even just have that letter from your doctor saying these are the diagnoses, if they are on any medications, just again, like Jenny has said, if for some reason you're not having to struggle on how to do that, you're like, okay, what medicine are they on, or what is this, or what is that, just how this we can.
I was just going to follow up with that. If consulting so medically complicated with all this stuff, so children, the special needs program, put together a whole packet that you just take it. And if we have to, most places they say are on Epic now, which is really good. So everything from where your doctor usually are on Epic, but I have a packet that says everything. I just handed it to the doctor and said, this is what's wrong with them. This is who you contact, and it's really nice. Special needs did it all for us. So yeah,
That would be very helpful if you're on a cruise or if you
Oh,
are out of the
yeah.
country too, because
Absolutely.
obviously you wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
I also had a mom tell me that to get into Six Flags, she would have to bring a different set of food for her kiddo because he wouldn't eat the foods that were at Six Flags, and she had to have a doctor's note to get into Six Flags with food because they were like, no, you are not allowed to bring food. So she finally had to get a doctor letter or a doctor note, and then they were able to bring in his food. So whether it be a special diet or self-restriction, at least you can have that conversation with your child's physician about that. So you will only eat veggie straws and dinosaur chicken nuggets, then if that is what you need to bring, then that's what you need to bring, and ask your physician to get that letter written.
So would that be the same for, because he's out there for a special diet for traveling, you can't go through the gates with food.
That is something that if you get that notification card, which I highly recommend that you get the notification
Yeah.
card I mentioned, you can bring a letter along from your doctor, and it would just have to go through additional screening.
Just in my spend on travel credit, all I all-inclusive resorts versus traditional resorts, they were all for the all-inclusive resorts because she's like, it is so much easier. You get on the plane, yes, you have the rigmarole of getting there, but you have transportation usually from the airport to the resort. Then once you get to the resort, you unpack and you're done. You don't have to cook, you don't have to go to the grocery store, you don't have to find the handicap accessible van. You're not trying to drive and go to a different restaurant each night and make sure that they have enough room for the wheelchair and whatnot. She said, hands down, she will go to an all-inclusive resort versus a traditional hotel anytime just because of ease and the enjoyment of the family. Like everyone was just able to relax. However, all-inclusive resorts are generally out of the country.
There's
So-
one all-inclusive in Florida, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember it right now, but I can look that up. But there is an all-inclusive in Florida that I know opened up just a few years ago.
Again, I told you guys I love Disney, so I know a whole lot about Disney. But Disney, even though they might not be all-inclusive, you can buy their meal plan, which basically makes them all-inclusive. And a nice thing, one, kind of how you were talking about the foods, Disney allows you to bring in foods to the parks, whether it's special accommodations, you can bring in coolers, especially if it is special, like needs diets. You just can't use like their microwaves or something like that. So you want to just be able to know that it has to be like cold packed or, you know, it can stay out in the summer. And they're not also responsible, like you can leave your cooler by a stroller or however. But they can like store it in a cool place or refrigerator for you. But if you do use their meal plan, so there's different options, but basically you could get 3 meals a day and plenty of snacks. If you let your resort know at Disney that you have a diet, whether the child has a lot of allergies or you only have them on a vegan diet or whatever it is, they will accommodate 100%. They will do it for any of the meal reservations too, so it doesn't have to just be at your resort. If you wanted to go to a character dinner, they will do it, and they will make sure that they accommodate for you guys.
And once a year, they also offer free dining.
And that is
And it's very difficult to get those.
Yes.
So you want to be on the phone with them or have your travel agent on the phone with them first thing when it opens up. They offer like, so there's meal plans like she was saying where you can get like 3 meals a day, but it can be costly. But I think it's definitely for sure. But once a year they release like certain dates that they'll have these free meal dining plans, and they only have a certain amount available. So then you can call in and try to call into Disney and see if you can get that free dining plan for your travel days.
And I think it has to be like your qualifications for it is you have to do like at least 3 days on like your vacation as part of that. But they also make it really nice because a lot of times places will do that, but they make it like really off season or like very inconvenient times that no one really wants to go, and Disney doesn't do that. I was there for 4th of July and it was during free meal planning or meal dining. So
On certain resorts, like some resorts, like they only have so many nights.
They have so many like rooms that they offer these free meal plans for. Yeah.
So we definitely recommend you to read the reviews. Obviously, you're reading the reviews with an open mind. You're not reading the reviews because you want to know if it's a good place or a bad place, because obviously people jump on reviews to always say what they didn't like, right? I would more or less look at it, especially if we're looking at wheelchairs or accessibility situations, read the reviews to see what they're talking about, to see if they say, yes, we're handicap accessible. However, handicap accessible is different based on where you're traveling. So if you're traveling to Mexico, their handicap accessible viewpoint is very different than America's viewpoint on handicap accessibility. So you would just want to read the reviews, kind of just, skim through them, not necessarily just read all the junk, but to more or less see if they're saying, yes, you said you're handicap accessible and you have 5 stairs to get down to the beach, then you would want to know that beforehand. And then look at the pictures, kind of skim through some of even the reviews pictures to kind of see what it is going to be presented like, because you're not getting an edited version of a picture in these reviews. So, and then prepare or planning ahead would be to, you may want to look at getting an ID bracelet for your kiddo. So that's if they were to run off or escape from you, from whichever, at least you know that they have that ID bracelet and they will be, whoever comes in contact with them will be.
If they don't tolerate a bracelet, some kids don't, it's a tactile thing. Amazon does sell these awesome stickers that a couple of our families have here used just for like school field trips that say like, hello, I am nonverbal, or hello, I have difficulty with mobility, or they're just very friendly that if you needed that sticker, you didn't want to get into it much, but they would just put it on the back of the kid's shirt, and so then at least someone would see that if that kid eloped, or someone tried to approach them, that they would at least see that and be like, oh, okay, this kid may not respond the way that I'm expecting them to respond to me. Sure. So one of the big kind of things we always want to talk about, we already talked a little bit about this, is preventing those meltdowns and dealing with the behavior. I think it's always a great opportunity to think that any kid, whether they are a child in a wheelchair or a child on the autism spectrum or has some kind of sensory sensitivity, is expect to have a meltdown. Because if you expect it and you plan for it, then hopefully it won't happen. Because you'd rather just say, hey, this isn't going to happen, and then you get into this big full meltdown, and then you're like, what do we do? Part of that really is you really want to keep the kid on a consistent schedule. And if the child goes to bed at 6 p.m. here, expect that child to go to bed at 6 p.m. on the vacation. And it's okay that they go to bed at 6 p.m. on vacation. They don't need to see all the fireworks. They don't need to do that ride 10 more times. They don't need to go and do whatever is the night activities. Let them be consistent, because then that child is going to stay in that routine. They're going to be able to stay calm. Their body's going to be happy. They're going to be rested. And that vacation is still going to be absolutely fun. That also includes meals. And you guys want to also really realize if you're going to a different part of the country or if you're going out of the country, their body is set on the time zone of Milwaukee. So if that child eats a snack at 10 a.m. and you're in Florida, you're going to be expecting what that body is asking for at 10 a.m. Milwaukee time versus what that is in Florida. So you really want to take care of that and realize, okay, I might need to pack extra snacks, or our eating schedule is going to be off because we're in a different time zone. So you want to try to keep it as consistent as possible so that that regulation is happening. Like we said, you really want to have the tools to prevent some of these meltdowns. What are some of these calming strategies? Do they like music? Do they need a sensory workout? Do they use a sensory workout here? Okay, we need to have a sensory workout at the hotel or at the beach. Those are all okay things. It's fun. You get to create a new sensory workout with the same kind of underlying things that you use, whether it's heavy work or, spinning or fidgets. Make sure you have those tools to help prevent that. Also,
They don't like it here.
they don't like it there. Yeah.
So if they don't like sand here, don't throw them on the beach.
If they are very adamant about having a compression vest or having weights, make sure you pack that compression vest or those weights so that they have those tools. Just because you're going out and you're like, oh, it's vacation, we might not need those things. The children are still going to need those.
Are there ways to accommodate that on the airline? Because some of that weighted stuff is so heavy. Like, if you travel with disabilities, I know we alone need one. So is there...
That's another thing that you put on that notification card, and it would go through after screening.
Oh yeah, I got stopped by somebody. So the weighted
Well,
stuff.
and especially
Full
with
bag.
the weighted stuff, again, talk to your doctor. If you know that a weighted blanket or a weighted pad or a weighted vest is medically necessary, have a doctor write a note saying this is medically necessary, so that if you get stopped, you have a note to talk about it. Because how often do us therapists have to write medically necessary notes for headphones and compression vests? Like, we write those notes so that you guys can get those things. The doctors realize that, then have the doctor help
some different apps for the visual schedule. Visual schedules and can be short for the morning or a visual schedule for the afternoon, and then make it more ambiguous than specific so that you're not having a meltdown because that child didn't get to go on the Peter Pan ride before he got to go on the Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know if they're the same, okay? But you wouldn't want to be super specific. Like, it could be just simple as, oh, we're gonna stand in line, then we're gonna go on a ride, then we'll go get a snack. You know, something more ambiguous, something very easy for that child to understand, because you would be setting them up for failure if you got to the Pirates of the Caribbean and it's closed. Then we're gonna have an issue because now they're upset that they need to go on that ride and it's set on the schedule. You know your child. If your child is not flexible that way, I would be very careful with the visual schedule being too specific. If they're okay with it, then that's great. So there are different apps.
There's different apps, and then LessonPix, PISS.com is a great, it's $30 for an entire year subscription, but it's a great tool for parents to use because you can take pictures, you can upload it, and you can create a visual schedule as a first in, as a check-off list. You really need to accommodate it to what your child likes. If your child loves the Velcro visual schedule, to pull it off and put it into the next one, guess what? Take your Velcro visual schedule with you and bring the book, and that's totally fine. If they're fine with an app, okay. If you need to sit and type up a lesson text, put it on your phone, it sends it as a PDF and send it to the hotel and they print it off each morning, do that. You've got to do what's going to be best for the child. But I love LessonPix. Like I said, it's $30 for the year, but what you can get out of it, it has a lot of like your therapy pictures, but if you needed to see your order of characters, so you needed to load up a picture of Mickey Mouse and then Cinderella and then Tinkerbell, you can do it because there's not going to be a lot of pics out there of those things. Or if you're going to the beach and then you need a beach wheelchair or whatever it is, you can really customize it. So I do recommend it, and like I said, it's a website so you can pull it up kind of anywhere and use it. And then with that backup, always have a backup plan, and then another one, and maybe then one more, because you never know what's going to happen. And that is with how we talked about, like, downloading items, having extra calming tools, having extra positive reinforcers. You might not have ever used a positive reinforcer with your child. You might want to take some and try to use it for that. You never know what's going to work on a vacation because the child is out of their comfort zone. They are, even as much as we're trying to stick to a routine and stick to a schedule, it's out of routine, it is out of your schedule. So what is that new thing that is going to help them if every other thing isn't working?
Or they could be totally opposite and just go with the flow and loving it and not having the meltdowns because it's a total change of scenery. So, and then the awesome memories are made, and that once you do it once, then you're like, oh, I can do this. So, visual timers, again, there's some apps on that list for the visual timer, just to maybe like give them, okay, we're gonna do this in so much time, or okay, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to chill out in the sensory room in the airport, and then we're going to go back and sit in our chair. Just using that visual timer where there's actual red decreasing and disappearing, or numbers disappearing, so that the kiddo understands there is an end to whatever they are sitting and waiting for, or
You just want to kind of be aware of the visual stimulation and really any kind of stimulation that you're going to do. Really loud. Is there a ton of people in the area with lots of things going on? Are you going from dark to light? Are you going from quiet to loud? Knowing what all of those environmental factors are going to help be able to figure out how to keep a child calm, how to keep them in that routine. And that's for any kid who, again, if it's a neuro child, that sensory input, is that really going to startle them and get them into a huge extensor tone? Okay, well, now if my child's in extensor and really toned, we can't get them back into their chair, what do we do? How do we get them kind of calmed back down so that, we can keep them safely in their car seat? Child, with some sensory needs, are they going to run because it's just too much and their body can't stand that overwhelming moment.
And then I think also aware of visual stimulation. I know when you sit down for dinner and you're trying to keep the kiddo quiet or busy, you give them an iPad. When they're standing in line, you give them an iPad. So that is, if it's outside of their norm of amount of visual stimulation, you could cause that child to have increased meltdowns if they are overstimulated by visual information, especially if it's outside of their normal amount. So I think that is something to be aware of and conscientious of, because when we're on vacation, you are probably doing more sitting or more waiting, especially at Disney, or if you're sitting at a restaurant every single night. You could be snowballing into a meltdown because now you've given that child so much visual stimulation that now they don't know what to do about it.
And then we kind of talked about calming strategies, but knowing what calming strategies work for your child is that your child really just needs to go and take a break. You need to find a quiet spot. Is a break just them sitting, if you guys rented a stroller or you have a stroller, them sitting in a stroller, putting a blanket over it, and they just kind of have that little safe spot for them? Is it they need a drink of water? They, what are the calming strategies that they might have been using at school or with their therapist? If it's yoga, okay, let's stand in line. I actually just did that as a home program today with a child of, you're standing at school and now you're getting anxious. Okay, what are some yoga poses you can do while standing in line? So what can these children do? And then, maybe fidgets, if that's something that they need. Have those fidgets on hand. Have kind of some of those calming resources just readily available. So we talked a lot about traveling outside of Milwaukee, and like I said, a lot of families are very much like, I can't even take my child to the zoo, let alone I will never plan a vacation out of the city. And so these are some really great opportunities that are here just kind of in the Milwaukee area that you can find also a list online of introducing your child. So you're like, I really want to take a trip, but I don't know how they're going to do. The Bucks have a sensory-friendly room. So if you've never been to a basketball game and you would be like, I want to do a basketball game or go to a Brewers game, try the Bucks. They have a great sensory room that it's free to all families. They just let you know where it's kind of located. It has a lot of, it provides noise-canceling headphones. It has like a light room. It has, I think it has a swing and a rocking chair for some vestibular and some proprioceptive input for them. They're kind of keep building it up, but it's brand new. The Bucks is one of the first NBA teams to provide a sensory-friendly room. So that's really exciting that Milwaukee's really done that. We Rock the Spectrum is a really awesome opportunity that we're going to be having with our clinic. We are, Tender Touch is partnering with it to opening up a We Rock the Spectrum gym in Oak Creek. It's supposed to be opening up in June-ish, potential date. But it's a community-based sensory gym. So it basically looks like all of our therapy equipment that's open to the community. So it's a really awesome thing. It's actually a national thing. There's a lot of them all over the country. This will be the first one in the state of Wisconsin that we're partnering with. But it is, if you get a membership and you're visiting family, and I know there's two in St. Louis because that's where I'm from, but like if you were visiting family in St. Louis, your membership could get you to those ones there. And so it's a really cool thing to look into. Just a really neat place so that, if you went to Florida for the beach and you're like, oh man, I really just need to do this, you can look up We Rock and stuff from there. So that's a great thing out of state, but it's a great thing for you guys to check here in Milwaukee too. AMC and Marcus Theaters offer sensory-friendly movie dates. They will list them on their websites and list what movies they are. And again, they'll kind of have the lights a little bit dimmer. They won't have as much noise or the loud sounds with the different movies.
To go along with that one, Autism Speaks is also in Milwaukee with the Merkin Center, and they did the Nutcracker, and they're also doing Peter Pan for the ballet.
Yep.
For the autism performances, where they leave the house lights on. You can bring your tablets in, and it's cheap.
Yeah, it's really
nice.
And then just also looking at kind of the areas around going to the different ADA accessible playgrounds like the Kenosha Dream Playground. There's another one up are really great. Just again, if you are from the Kenosha area or you know the Racine area, maybe take a day trip to the one in Oconomowoc. See what it's like. Special Olympics is a great way to get involved, get your kids doing some different sports, working with some different families. You know, it's just a really great supportive community. Tender Touch Therapy does the Try My Best. We also do our adaptive sports night, so that's just a really great opportunity to have a one-on-one buddy with the kids being able to try out different activities to try, obviously, swimming, biking, and running, walking. For the adaptive sports night, we had adaptive rock climbing, we did swimming, we had karate, soccer, basketball. So just great opportunities for the kids to be social. We had a dance party, and then also looking at different various camps that will be adaptive. Right now, Kenosha is offering like a skating camp or a skating lessons, adaptive skating, ice skating lessons, and there's various camps throughout the Milwaukee area. The zoo offers sensory-friendly days, so does the Discovery Museum, and so if you just look for them, they're out there.
And sometimes there's even camps for the whole family to go on, like a mini vacation, and you know that's going to be adaptive. So, like if a family wants to go and I'm not quite sure on different diagnoses, but if there's a Down syndrome camp where you could go and the whole family go off to a certain resort that they might have reserved or campground that they might have reserved, you can look into those to be like one of your stepping stones to get ready to go on to a bigger vacation or vacation on your own that you're planning.
Those camps are really great. One that comes to mind for me is Camp O'Dayan. It is for congenital heart disease. They do a resident camp for kids out like for a week long, but then and it's from ages like 4 up to high school. But then they also do family camp twice a year, and they have doctors on staff. They have doctors, they have nurses, they have therapists. So it's a great way for kids to be able to go, maybe even without a parent or have the parents there, but knowing that, okay, it's okay, there are medical professional staff here that if something happens that they're here for us.
I don't know if you guys know this, but on the other end of the spectrum, my father's completely handicapped. He's in a wheelchair, obviously, the rest of his life, but there are 9 state parks in Wisconsin that have completely handicapped accessible travel. They have foyer-less beds, the accessible, they have a roll-in toilet seat, roll-in shower, and for my father, that was a huge thing. So just there's 3, like you have to reserve it ahead of time, but that was like 3 days or 3 nights you can stay. But there's 9 state parks in Wisconsin completely handicapped accessible. So.
And then even Six Flags, it's just a little bit of a day trip. It's maybe not as accessible for like all of the different, wheelchair rides and getting into the water park, but they do offer a disability accessibility pass, meaning you can have shorter wait time, so you can go to guest relations. And
Bring your doctor's note.
Bring your doctor's note for Six Flags. Disney and Universal have them also, so that you could just say, hey, Disney's a little bit friendlier than Universal, so bring your doctor's note. But you could be like, I need this pass. They'll give it to you. You can come back to guest relations and say, okay, you want to ride this ride? Can you please come at this time? The whole party gets to go in as like a fast pass. So you might still have a wait, but it might be like a 5 to 10 minute wait versus a 3-hour wait.
And doing some of these local activities, local parks, will help prepare you to get to that next step of travel. So it's just a nice step. These are just things that we thought of while we were chatting about the presentation. So, I mean, you guys can read basically everything that is on there. I think we already talked about the social stories. We talked about the snacks. Sometimes we forget to bring that pool safety equipment because we have to remember that that child could run out the door and be in a pool area. So we may want to have that pool safety equipment on them, even when they're awake, just to prevent that next situation. A small tool set if needed, just in case there's any wheelchair issues or you need a small screwdriver to tighten the screw down, or a wrench to tighten the wrench or tighten the bolt. So just a little small tool set just for your own sake. I did chat with the mom. She said definitely take, if you have suction equipment or medications or feeding equipment, it's very important to take that on the plane with you, because if your luggage gets lost or it's tossed around and it gets broken, you won't have that, and it might not be as easily replaced when you're outside of your area.
And again, that's something you just inform the kids they offer ahead of time that you have that to do. And it's just maybe subject to additional training.
Wheelchair van rental, I know that that was a question presented to us previously. I didn't know if you included any of your handouts, but a mom did give me one that she was able to utilize, and that's United Access, and she was able to rent a wheelchair accessible van for them to travel within the United States, obviously. So they were traveling around in California. And that allowed her to, help with that transition and not have to worry about the positioning in the van or vehicle.
And also, comfortable at work is another one.
And then making sure that you bring that car seat if you're in a car seat currently to help with positioning on the airplane. And then we have DVIS and Katie's Closet as opportunities to get additional equipment or get additional items that you may need before you travel. So talk to your therapist ahead of time to get that information, find out if we could have DVIS cover a piece of equipment that you might need, whether it be a stroller or a pair of headphones or a Bennett vest. And Katie's Closet, Team Up with Families, has a lot of used equipment that maybe if we start looking a year in advance, we might have a stroller for you to utilize when you're traveling a couple months before you leave. That is, Katie's Closet is where families will bring this stuff and it could leave as quickly as it comes in. So it's always good to constantly be checking into Katie's Closet to see if they have different pieces of equipment that you might need there.
And then kind of just to touch base on the what to pack, one of the big things to always kind of remember is as you're packing stuff, if your child gets dehydrated very quickly, then you really want to make sure that you're taking water bottles if you're going to be out of town. Your child cannot tolerate Milwaukee heat. They might not be able to tolerate Florida heat, or that they don't sweat as well. Making sure you're really thinking about those medical conditions, that if you're going to be out at a theme park all day or at the beach all day, how are you going to keep them cool? It might be easy to get into air conditioning, but it also might not. So again, are you going to make sure you have extra umbrellas, extra fans? Having ice packs in the heat and help cool things down and keep your eating, your different foods cold, being able to keep your water bottles cold. So making sure that you look at that. The new clothing, if your child has tactile sensory, have them practice what they're going to wear. Don't buy a brand new swimsuit that's just going to be for at the beach, and then these are going to be family pictures of that child's never worn that swimsuit before, or they're not used to that new cute outfit for seeing Cinderella. Practice what they wear. Have them wear their most comfortable clothes while they're on vacation, because it's going to help them stay calm and have fun and enjoy life.
And bedding, I think we just put it on there just because obviously sleep is important. And if that kiddo is used to sleeping in a sleeping bag because they feel a little bit more peppy, make sure you're bringing that. If they are very picky or particular on their pillows or sheets, you need to keep that in mind. Tactile issues, just because they're going on vacation. Any questions? So the mom that I chatted with, she said but half of it. Make your life Unfortunately, yes. I mean, if you think about it, I'm sure diapers and all that stuff.
I think that's what I'm gonna say, is take them to both days, so if you roll for a week and you get a diaper, and then right there.
Well, the nice thing too, again, if you kind of travel at these all-inclusive resorts, if you're staying at Disney or staying at Universal, you can order all of that stuff ahead of time, and they will have it in your room. So, like, if you know your child will only drink Dasani bottled water, and you are terrified that they're not going to do it, you can order that via Walmart or a grocery store or even Amazon and order it to your hotel and just ship it there and they will do it. Most of those also, I know for Disney and Universal, maybe not like your like Mexican retreats or like resorts, you can even order groceries on there, like do your